All right, Shalom, all praise, honor, and glory is to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. I also want to say Shalom to all you fellow laborers pushing out this word in all truth, faith, and sincerity. So yeah, I just want to get into a quick lesson, pretty much based on this article, what you see on the screen. All right, U.S. suicide rate surges, particularly among white people. All right, and there's a reason for that because the dread of the Heavenly Father has rested on the so-called white man, which he's not white, all right? In reality, the so-called white man is red, which he lines up with Esau in the scriptures, all right? Of whom the nation of Edom, the Edomites, which that's your biblical nationality, the Edomites, all right? And the so-called white man is the ones that you see here on the earth today. Well, they are the offspring of Esau, and their true nationality would be the Edomites. And these devils, which we call them the devil, all right? You go into that word devil, it simply means deceiver. All right, these devils put in a lot of time and energy and, spent a lot of money and resources into hiding that fact. They even try to push that whole stigma of the red man on the Native American Indians. Why? Because they know that, according to the prophecies, the red man in the scriptures is the ones who will bear the indignation of the Heavenly Father. And that's your so-called white people, all right? So for anybody out there who cringe at the fact that we call this man the devil, all right, well, explain these statistics. Well, you got the suicide rate surging amongst white people, man. Here it is, Jake, you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, you catch the most hell. So why is the so-called white man committing suicide? That's because that the fear and dread of the Lord has rested on them. They're being tormented by dreams and visions. And in the spirit, they know that, the judgment of the Lord is on their heels. It's pursuing them, all right? So I want to just go into this article, all right? It says, the suicide rate in the U.S. has surged to its highest level in almost 3 decades, according to a new report. The increase is particularly pronounced among middle-aged white people who now account for a third of all U.S. suicides. Hey, that's a big number, all right? That's like, what, 75%? It says the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, report did not offer an explanation for the steep rise. Yeah, because they don't know the answer. But we know the answer, all right? The answer is the Heavenly Father is against the so-called white man. And he's beginning to bring judgment on the so-called white man, all right? However, other experts have pointed to increased abuse of prescription opiates and the financial downturn that began in 2008 as likely factors, which show that the so-called white man is weak, man. All right, here it is. So-called black man have caught hell here in this country. We are constantly reminded we had to relive what you devils did to our forefathers, castrating us and hanging us, feeding us to alligators, all right, and dealing ill toward us, yet we keep pushing, all right? Why is that? Because we are the true children of the Most High, all right? It says the report did not break down the suicides by education level or income, but previous studies found rising suicide rates among white people without university degrees. This is part of the larger emerging pattern of evidence of the links between poverty, homelessness, and health, Robert D. Putnam, a professor of public policy at Harvard, told the New York Times. Yeah, so they want to blame it on the fact that most of these Edomites doesn't have a degree, or they're plagued by hopelessness and health and poverty, which these things is a fixture in the so-called black and Latin communities, man. Yet we the last thing on our mind is damn suicide. Why? Because the so-called white man, the way he rationalized things out is with death. pursuing the Genesis, the 27th chapter, where his gift is the sword. All right. CDC reported on Friday that suicides have increased in the U.S. to a rate of 13 per 1,000 people, the highest since 1986. Meanwhile, homicides and deaths from ailments like cancer and heart disease have declined. All right. In the past, suicides have been most common among white people, but the recent increases have been sharp. So they got a graph here, all right? It says the overall suicide rate rose by 24% from 1999 to 2014, according to the CDC. However, the rate increased 43% among white men ages 45 to 64 and 63% for women in the same age range. So yeah, that's a huge number, all right, which is not nothing to gloss over. That's not a coincidence. It further proves that, the so-called white man is the people of, who the Heavenly Father have indignation with forever. And they are a cursed people, all right? Even they skin, which their skin it lacks melanin, which makes the sun itself their natural enemy. See, even the heavens and the universe is against the so-called white man. The so-called white man is a cancer, and you can't debunk that, all right? The reason why we got GMOs out here and chemtrails, food poisoning, water poison, all right? Certain animals on the endangered species list, all right? Even the plants, every form of life is endangered has been endangered since the inception of the so-called white man and his rulership. And when this man sat on the power seat, then everything became at risk of being destroyed. Why? Because he's the harbinger of death. And the earth and the sun and everything is pretty much, holding the so-called white man guilty. That's why they need sunscreen, all right? It says that figure is double the combined suicides total for all blacks, Hispanics, all right, which are the Israelites. It says Asian, Pacific Islanders, American Indians, which are a part of the 12 tribes, and Alaska Natives, all right, which are the other nations. Any nations besides the so-called white man is not, under that shadow of death, man, so to speak. All right, the suicide rate declined for only two groups, black men and all people over 75, all right? Which when you go into the so-called black men, they stem from the tribe of Judah, all right? The very tribe who the world ignorantly called Jesus Christ come from, all right? Which his name in the ancient Hebrew is Yahushua, all right? So I want to just get into scriptures. Got the scriptures queued up. We're going to the Book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse 12. Seek not death in the era of your life, and pour not upon yourselves destruction with the works of your hands. Yes, so this pretty much is sound advice and a commandment that's written in the scriptures, which the so-called white man is not in tune or in harmony with what the scriptures say, all right? The scriptures say, seek not death in the era of your life, which the so-called white man is totally contrary to the scriptures and anything that's righteous, all right? So the first instinct that comes to mind when these devils don't have things to go their way is they seek death, all right, in the era of their life, all right, which is a curse, man. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 14, and verse 32. The wicked is driven away in his wickedness, but the righteous have hope in his death. Yeah, so, the wicked, he's driven away, man, in his wickedness, all right, which means he's so engulfed, all right, in wickedness that that's the very thing that takes him out, all right? You live by the sword, you die by the sword, man. So this devil they remedy is death, man, and they do it at their own hands. All right, the scriptures tell you about how the tender mercies of the wicked is cruel. So in they own, and when they, attempting to soothe themselves or find any relief, they resort back to their attribute, which is death, man. All right. This is the book of Job, chapter 11 and verse 20. But the eyes of the wicked shall fail, and they shall not escape, and their hope shall be as the giving up of the ghost. Yeah, and that's how they find hope, man. Which this is, spoken by the Most High, all right? The inspiration of it through the Most High, through the prophet Job, which this is a telltale sign of the condition of the so-called white man, all right? They hope is as shall be giving up the ghost, man, which in reality they're dealing with America, because America hope is to make this place great again, but that's going to be as if you gave up the ghost. But also, these devils, they put their hope in death, man. All right. They are centered, death is pretty much, the answer to these devils, man. All right. That's the antidote when anything goes wrong. All right. They get certain plants to grow up. They spray weed killer on it. All right. They want to build a house, they cut down the trees, kill the trees, So that's the way they rationalize out anything, is by death, man. And even when they're having problems, all right? Matter of fact, let me search for a scripture real quick. I know it's in Revelation. Yeah, this is the book of Revelation, chapter 6 and verse 4. And there went out another horse that was red. Yeah, and it's dealing with Esau, the so-called white man, which is red. And power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. And that's what this devil did. He took peace from the earth, man. When you go into his track record, all right, it's filled with violence. All right, we're not making this stuff up, man. You people out there might get offended, but we just coming out with the truth, man, all right? You go into history, this man have took peace away from the earth, and that they should kill one another, and that was given unto him a great sword. Yes, so sword represents destruction. So this is how the so-called white man rationalize everything out, man, all right? And even the problems that they go through. I'm not making this up. All right, the same problem this devil, the so-called white man, go through, the so-called black man and Latin man and Native Americans go through, man, the Israelites. All right, and on a higher level. Because here it is, these devils actually have a soft landing, man. You see these devils out in the street, it's because of their own decision. They junkies, they big-time drug addicts, they're into prescription drugs. Yet they grandfather or some got money, man. They can always go home and clean up for a week. On the other hand, you got the so-called black man, he's trying to fend, for example, you might have a so-called black man into sports. He got to put everything on the line. If he don't make it, then the whole family is done, man. The whole family is rooting behind him, all right? So the same thing we face, might have to pay a bill, might lose a job. Well, this devil, they rationalize it out by the sword, man, by a destructive method, by killing themselves, man. And hey, it's gonna be more and more of that. You about to see these financial experts and these CEOs at these companies plunge from these buildings, man, because the money and the dollar is about to crash, all right? So yeah, with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, peace, safety to the sincere brothers pushing out this word. Till the next time I say shalom.